So with all the head coaching spots filled and Eric Bieniemy not getting a head coaching job for the third or fourth year in a row, I wanted to go through what happens next with Eric Bieniemy, his future with the Kansas City Chiefs, and if his future isn't with the Kansas City Chiefs, what should happen next? Now, obviously, after he interviewed and finished his interview with the Saints yesterday, as the time I'm recording this, I didn't know at the time that his contract with the Chiefs was expiring. I did not know that. So now Eric Bieniemy could either come back to Kansas City or he can move on. It ultimately depends on what he wants to do and what the Chiefs want to do, and it'll just have to go from there at that point. But since 2019, he's interviewed for nearly every single head coaching job, and the final interview that he did have in this coaching cycle was with the Saints that lasted for over 8 hours. So now I want to discuss what happens with Eric Bieniemy, and if he does leave Kansas City and decides not to come back, what would the best spot be for Eric Bieniemy, or what his best options are. Now, obviously, Eric Bieniemy helped create one of, if not the most dominant offense in the NFL for the last 4 years. Now, some people may contribute that to Patrick Mahomes being the quarterback, which I think is obviously a valid point. Patrick Mahomes is one of the quickest rising quarterbacks of all time. Like, his first 4 years in the NFL have been absolutely insane. But I think Eric Bieniemy deserves a little bit of credit for that. Like, he's definitely helped from 2018 when he took that job to now. He's definitely helped the Chiefs consistently be a great to elite team on offense ever since EB took over that job. He's helped the Chiefs go to 4 straight AFC Championship games, 2 Super Bowls, and a Super Bowl victory, which we'll be ever grateful for. And in that Super Bowl, like, him and Mahomes, I rewatched that mic up that they had from that Super Bowl, and the interactions him and Mahomes had were fantastic. Like, he always got the best out of Mahomes in that game. It was great to watch. So just Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes, it's a great combination for offense. And Eric Bieniemy, like I said, helped create one of the most dominant offenses in the NFL. The Chiefs, with Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator, are first in points per game, yards per play, first downs per game, third down conversion rate, and fourth down conversion rate. So basically, since Eric Bieniemy took over the offensive coordinating position for the Chiefs, he has just constantly let the Chiefs dominate on the offensive side of the ball. And even this year, when they struggled, that dreaded cover 2 that they had to deal with, for a good stretch of the season where the offense was really, really struggling, obviously Eric Bieniemy had a little bit of help and influence in changing how the Chiefs' offensive scheme and how the offense worked in those struggles. So he helped the Chiefs get over that hump of not being able to do anything with cover 2. And once they figured that out, the Chiefs' offense was back to normal and could not be stopped. So Eric Bieniemy, obviously one of the better, if not one of the best offensive coordinators in all of football. He's a genius. He's smart. Again, you could contribute that to the talent that he has on offense, but again, the talent has to be good, put in a good position for them to even be great. So obviously Eric Bieniemy gets a lot of love, a lot of praise, and I don't hate Eric Bieniemy whatsoever. Like, I've been know people on Twitter, they think I hate Eric Bieniemy. No, like, without Eric Bieniemy, who knows where this team would be? He has helped create a fantastic offense for this Chiefs. Now, I will say it's very, very frustrating watching Eric Bieniemy's play calling sometimes. And especially in that Bengals game, like the play at the end of the first half was absolutely terrible. Like, that play call should have never been called, and I don't know what that's poor situational awareness. There was like 5 seconds left. You got to take a shot to the end zone if you're not going to kick a field goal there. So that play call right there, and having no timeouts, that was bad situational play calling, and I know that can be contributed to Andy Reid, who has had situational issues in the past as well. But Eric Bieniemy, if he did call that play, that was a bad play call. And it's not just that one play call. Throughout these playoffs, we've seen some very bad offensive play calls from the Chiefs that could have changed the complexion of the entire game, like the wildcat between Darrell Williams and McCole Hardman. No, that one didn't necessarily change the outcome of the game whatsoever, because once that happened, the offense just got rolling and couldn't be stopped. But if the Chiefs were off that day, and the Steelers, they had no offense, but the Steelers, their mindset probably going into that game was, we need a defensive touchdown. And the Chiefs basically handed the Steelers a defensive touchdown with that awful play call. So that play call there was one where it got cute, and I did not like the speed option with Blake Bell, and I think it was either Darrell Williams or Jerick McKinnon. I can't remember who the running back was on the play, but having them run that speed option in a situation like that, which led to a field goal, then that kind of changed. That field goal kind of changed the way that game was going. So that play call with Blake Bell got very close to being, because if the Chiefs didn't win that game, that would have been the play call that would have put the nail in the coffin for them, and that would have been a death sentence for everybody on that offensive staff. But then you also have the play at the end of the first half with the Bengals that was probably is going to be the most talked about play on the offseason all year long. And it's not just the cute play calling, the cute play calling in the red zone. It's just the bad play calling. The amount of times that they were running for 7 yards at a time this season, and then they just wouldn't run the football on the very next play. Like the Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid, they hate running the football. But I think that going into the offseason, if Eric Bieniemy does stay, that has got to be a talking point. They have got to learn to run the football more. If they get rid of the cute plays, bust them out every once in a while. But if they get rid of the cute plays, run the football more, I think this team is going to be perfectly fine, because this team, the Bengals were dropping 8 and the Chiefs just refused to run the football. So the play calling was terrible. It wasn't good. So I think, as much I love Eric Bieniemy. I think he definitely deserves a head coaching job. I'm just saying, if there's a possibility that the reason why people maybe are hesitant is because of those situational plays, which in my eyes, it completely makes sense. But at the same time, I don't think it should degrade him, because 4 straight AFC Championship games, 2 Super Bowls, and a Super Bowl victory, everything that he's done, the last 4 years, I still think that speaks for itself. He definitely deserves a play call. But if that does deter a team, again, I understand both sides of that one. So there's a couple options that I think Eric Bieniemy could go if he decides not. Well, there's a couple options just in general. He can stay in Kansas City and stay the offensive coordinator. Now, I've been saying that if Eric Bieniemy truly wants a head coaching job, I think that the Chiefs front office, Brett Veach, the Hunt family, everybody, they would be happy as Eric Bieniemy as the head coach when Andy Reid retires. So I think what Eric Bieniemy should do, or if the Chiefs are willing to do it, have Eric Bieniemy just sign a contract that states that he's going to be the next head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, after Andy Reid is retired or he's let go, whatever. I think that would be a good option for him, because I think the Chiefs love him, the front office loves him, everybody in Kansas City, and don't ask Chiefs Twitter because they don't necessarily love Eric Bieniemy, but Eric Bieniemy is beloved by nearly everybody. So I think that's a really good option for Eric Bieniemy, almost guaranteeing himself a head coaching job if he just stays with Kansas City until Andy Reid retires. Now, obviously, there's other options like go elsewhere. But I was thinking, I went through some teams that need an offensive coordinator. A lot of the teams have been filled, or if the team's just really bad, I wouldn't want Eric Bieniemy to go there because he wants success wherever he goes. But the first team that came to my mind was the Steelers. And I know that sounds really dumb, but Matt Canada's play calling was egregious. It was a million times worse than anything Eric Bieniemy did all season long. And I think Eric Bieniemy can single-handedly turn around that Steelers offense. Now, I know the Steelers, they don't have a quarterback going into next season yet, so that could be a bit shaky. But I think that, if the Steelers can get even a decent quarterback, the guys that are there, just the Steelers offense was just so bad last year. The play calling was so bad that I think even Eric Bieniemy would run circles around Matt Canada. So if he does leave, that was the only team I could think of, but also the first one that popped into my head. If, the Steelers were willing to move off of Matt Canada, I would definitely move off of Matt Canada if Eric Bieniemy came available. And I think that would be, those are some options for Eric Bieniemy. Stay in Kansas City, sign one of those lifetime contracts, take over the job when Andy Reid retires. He could just come back and stay as the Chiefs offensive coordinator, and then, next year when the head coaching cycle, do it all over again. Or, he could take over another team like the Steelers and become their offensive coordinator, because the Steelers need one. I really do think they need one. But those are just my thoughts on what could happen with Eric Bieniemy next. Give me your thoughts down below of what you think could happen with Eric Bieniemy, and I'll see you in the next one.